Season 2 of Shooting the Shield. John Reed, William Patteson. Still haven't exactly figured out this podcast studio, but we've at least set us up a camera. We got some microphones. I'm stuck holding this one here, but I think this is better. It's progress, at least. We got to figure out if we're going to put like a plant here or something or something on the TV or whatever. But let's talk some NFL. William, how are you, my friends?
Doing well, John. Happy to be back for season 2 of Shooting the Shield. We got renewed another year.
That's right.
The reviews were so great last year. They were like, we got to bring this duo back. And the interesting dynamic about it now is last year, like I was in school, so I wasn't here all day. Now we work together all day. We haven't really argued in a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I'm your boss. Point that out, too. I'm your manager. It's important to note that.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. Manager Reed, whenever you go to get hateful, just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, Mr. Reed, the boss. But other than that part, we haven't argued in a while, so I'm interested to see if we'll get into it on the pod this year.
I don't really like being out here. I've become a fidgeter again. I used to have this problem in school a lot where I'd start tugging on my shirts and just readjusting myself constantly. I haven't been doing that as much, but I've noticed that tick coming back over the last couple of weeks. And this leather, it makes me a fidgeter. So if you're watching on video, forgive me. I'm sorry, but we're here. Did any of your friends ask about it? Because I actually had quite a few people asking me, are you going to talk NFL or is Shooting the Shield coming back? What does William think about this? Oh my God, the Jaguars suck. I bet he hates Cam Ward. Many people are asking about your takes. Did any of your friends ask about me?
Well, they were asking if we were going to do this again. It a couple of times appeared on our TV at the, I guess now, old college house, now that I'm all grown up and old.
The bachelor pad.
Well, not the bachelor pad's where I'm at now. The old place was where I lived with all my roommates. But it came on a good bit, and they tuned in. They watched. They thought it was funny when you'd give me grief. They thought it was funny when you would get on to me. They wouldn't really think it was funny if I got on to you, but they more so like seeing.
Smart kids. Like great young men there in the frat pad.
So,
shout out to them if they're listening, wherever they may be. But, yeah, we waited later this year to get to it, so we don't really have much time for a huge season preview because we got week 1. You know, we're recording this right now, 1 o'clock on Wednesday, so whenever you're listening, the game's, it might already be started by the time you get to this. We ain't got much time to waste, William. Let's get to it. What do you have on the rundown for today?
Well, I was just thinking we could do, AFC and then NFC and kind of the big storylines heading in for each conference, maybe a couple of teams that you're keying in on, your high, your lows, I guess the teams you're buying, the teams you're selling. And, I think next week we can get more in the rhythm of kind of doing the week-to-week stuff, if you would be cool with that.
Sure.
And then, I guess at least today, just focusing on the storylines that is relevant as we head into the new season. And we can start with whatever conference you like, John. Which conference would you like to begin with?
The AFC. That's the cool one.
The AFC. Okay.
Yeah. Tighten up.
Well, I guess we can go, quickly, division by division real quick. We don't have to talk about all the teams as some of them are.
Rapid fire. Yeah, rapid fire.
AFC South. We'll begin with that one. That's always a fun one.
Tighten up.
You're big on the Titans this year. And at least just explain to the viewers where you stand with them and what you forecast for them to be this season.
I don't know what I forecast for them to be, but I will say I'm excited to watch them play. I do think they drew the short end of the stick for week 1. I do think Cam Ward going to Denver is a pretty tough first draw when you look at the hype around Denver and their defense. Like, that's going to be an interesting test. But I'm excited to watch. Last year was not very fun. The first month of the season was nothing but Will Levis memes and him messing things up. And at that point, it became hatred and just boredom. And then, by the time you get to Mason Rudolph, you're just ready for the season to end, hoping you would get a number 1 pick. So for now, all I'll say about where I stand with the Titans is just hopeful. We'll see. I'm not picking them to win the division. I hope they win the division. I hope they make the playoffs. But as far as forecast goes, I'm just excited to watch them play. I'm excited to watch a quarterback. That's an exciting time for a fan base. And I think the Titans, they've always kind of lacked the quarterback that could fulfill that excitement. We've had top picks before. None of them have really panned out or been exciting. Hopefully Cam Ward can go out there and at least sling the pill around a little bit and make some plays. He's going to make plenty of mistakes. I'm not super worried about that. I'm old enough to remember Peyton Manning going out there and throwing, 30 interceptions as a rookie. So I won't freak out about the interceptions, but I'll really hype up the good plays, the big plays.
Yeah, key word there. Drafted a lot of quarterbacks. Not many of them have had success. I think Cam Ward could be good, but I don't see it at least this season. This was a guy that was ranked 33rd out of 55 eligible quarterbacks and turnover-worthy plays in this past draft. A guy that made some really cool plays for Miami, but also made a lot of turnover-worthy backyard football plays. That's not going to relate in the NFL. So I'm not as high on the Titans as you are, and obviously the Titans fan base is always very, very positive about their team until around week 8 when they come to reality.
I don't think you know many Titans fans. Most of the Titans fans I know are very pessimistic frequently.
At least this offseason, all the Titans fans are telling me, oh, Cam Ward this, Cam Ward that. We can win the division. We're going to make the playoffs.
Number one pick.
Let's calm down. Let's remember where you were drafting last year.
The number one turnover play thing is a little bit – I mean, that's fine, to have turnover-worthy plays, but he was also rated the most accurate passer in the draft, I think, in the last 10 years was the number I saw around draft time. So
yeah, well,
I'll live with the good, and I'll take some bad. I'm not worried about the turnover-worthy plays just yet, as long as they're not – knucklehead plays like Will Levis was making last year, but that's too much time for the Titans. Let's move on.
Yeah. Look, real quick on the Jags, I like Liam Cohen. I think he's going to come in and do a great job with this offense. Did a great job with Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. And I think that the weaponry is much better than years past. I think the offensive line is still going to be an open verdict, and that's going to ultimately depict whether the Jaguars will be a playoff level team or a division winner team or not. Defensively, as long as everyone's healthy, I think you've got 2 top 15 pass rushers in the league and Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. And I think the Jaguars will be better this season. Offensive line, the big factor in terms of how far they go, how much time Trevor Lawrence has. But Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. is a really, really fun duo.
Yeah, important to remember where the Jaguars were picking, and while they were picking there, they haven't really changed much. I mean, the quarterback's coming back. At least the Titans. Hey, you say remember that? At least they got a new quarterback there. Jaguars are going to kind of just run back the same squad and hope that a first-time head coach will fix the problems. What could go wrong?
Well, Texans really good defensively. I think D'Amico Ryans has done a good job on that side of the ball. Like the addition of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who comes over from the Eagles. I think he's a really, really strong piece for that group. And then obviously you've got the Danielle Hunters of the world, the Will Andersons. That's going to be a strong defense. I'm interested to see if C.J. Stroud is able to take a leap this season after a disappointing year 2. I felt like defense has figured him out, and I'm interested to see if he's better in the intermediate stuff, 10 to 15 yards down the field. We know how good he is down the field, but can he find success 10 to 15 yards? Is something to watch for. Tank Dell going to come back from an injury at some point this season. What does he look like? I do like the addition of Jaden Higgins, the rookie out of Iowa State. I think he could be a guy that could quickly get involved in this offensive passing game. Nico Collins had a strong season. I think the Texans and Jaguars are the 1 and 2 for the division in the AFC South.
Yeah, it just comes down to the Texans' offensive line. I think the defense is going to be a top 5 unit. You talked about the pass rushers. I think all that's well-founded. It just comes down to whether or not they can protect C.J. Stroud. I don't have a lot of confidence in them being able to do so at a clip that would make them an actual contender in the AFC. But sure, in terms of winning this dumpster fire of a division, I have no issue with them being a heavy favorite. We'll see how that plays out. Offensive line, of course, the one unit that you can't be a dumpster fire on and succeed. So we'll see just how bad they are as they're breaking in all these new guys. And C.J. Stroud regressed a little bit last year. We'll see how he fares in year 3. I haven't seen as many clips of him, globe trotting and plane hopping and running around with porn stars. So we'll see how he is on a focused level in year 3.
Yeah, well,
I got nothing for the Colts. Daniel Jones.
I know. I want
R.I.P. Jim Irsay, I guess. Daniel Jones, R.I.P. to Anthony Richardson's career. Just real quick, the Shoot and the Shield fans want to know, William, you were maybe Anthony Richardson's biggest biggest Anthony Richardson fan, the biggest fan he had outside of Florida or Indiana. Do you care to comment on his benching to Daniel Jones?
Well, I still don't think the Colts have handled the situation correctly. He got injured his rookie season. I thought last year they should have played him the full year. And it made zero sense to bring a guy off the couch and Joe Flacco that should be watching Netflix with his kids and has no future with the Colts. And you should have played Richardson. Regardless, he hasn't been good. And, I think his time in Indianapolis is over, but I think he could have success somewhere else. I don't think Shane Steichen has worked. Yeah, you get it.
We can shorten. No, we can shorten it to just, I'm sorry, shooting the shield, folks. I was wrong. Anthony Richardson stinks. Let's try
breaking news. A guy that gives his takes all day was wrong about something.
You were wrong about this one, though. You were wrong.
I'm still strong that they haven't handled it correctly. Okay. And I don't think that's a bad way to approach it. So shooting the shield fans out there, voice your opinion on that. Do you think the Colts handled it the correct way?
Where just real quick, Anthony Richardson, ranks last in accuracy pretty much at every level.
I know, but you have to at least give him a full season to let him learn. And after you got a full season, he
basically had a full season between half of his rookie year and half of his
in terms of a mental
year.
In terms of a mental state,
okay, so you're holding your Anthony Richardson stock.
No, stop. We can't stop. Don't. We're not doing this.
The people love just.
No,
I was wrong.
We're not doing this. Where you put words in my mouth.
I'm giving you a chance to clarify.
I am clarifying.
Do you still believe in Anthony Richardson?
I am out on Anthony Richardson with the Colts.
Do you believe in his career moving forward?
I think if he goes to the right place, like a Sean McVay with the Rams or a Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings, I think he could have more success. And we've seen quarterbacks do that before.
Sure.
So I'm not giving up on him long term, but I'm giving up on him with the Colts.
Okay.
We'll move to the AFC
we'll check
East.
Back in 4 years.
Okay.
When he's cut, I'll call you then.
Okay.
You giving up on him yet? Well,
Stop.
He's working out with Kaepernick. He's waiting for
We got
his
a
chance.
lot to cover, John. We can't sit here and talk about Anthony Richardson and AFC South forever.
People wanted to know. I'm here to represent the audience.
I answered.
Yeah.
It was a fair answer. We'll move to the AFC East.
Politician answer is what it was.
Okay. The AFC East for the third time. We'll try it. I want to get kind of these lower divisions out of the way. The Bills, the leader in the clubhouse for this division once again. Josh Allen, so close in the playoffs once again last year. I think this is a team that will be right back in that same position. I don't think they're going to be able to beat the Chiefs in an AFC championship game.
Maybe the Bills are boring though to me until they're. I don't care what they do in the regular season. They could be 15-2, they could be 17-0, they could be 11-6. Whatever. They're going to be in the playoffs, and then we're going to judge them there. They're in that territory. Same for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, just to kind of step on the AFC North. Both teams are going to be judged about whether or not they can beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. It was a great offseason for Josh Allen. Got married, his wife, breakout star, and a big-time movie. All those things look good for him off the field. Reigning MVP, all that's good for him. The question is, can he win in the playoffs? And he probably got robbed a little bit last year on that fourth down call. But, and also, Dawson Knox, or was it Kincaid that dropped the quasi Hail Mary fourth down heave down the field where it hits him in the hands as he's diving. Could have been a big time completion, one of the tight ends. All that's great with the Bills. They're boring to me until the playoffs. Can they break through? Can they win? I will say I'm a little worried just at the wide receivers they're bringing in. It's not a good sign to me that on the eve of the season they're calling Gabe Davis and be like, hey, can you come in here? No
Former
offense.
Jaguar.
Yeah, no offense to Gabe Davis. I know he had that one playoff game, but if you're bringing him in at the last minute, that means you're worried about your wide receivers. And, that's not different than it was last year. But to me, the Jets and the Dolphins and the Patriots, I think, are much more interesting. I know what I have with Buffalo. I got a team that we're going to judge in January/February. With the Dolphins, is Mike McDaniel just a dead man walking? Can he salvage that? Will Tyreek Hill implode? Can Mike Vrabel get the Patriots back winning? Can he get the most out of Drake May? And can the Jets, win a playoff game for the first time in a long time? Can they make the playoffs?
The
Can
Jets
they get
in the playoffs?
Well, I'm just saying that's the question. They're talking about the big drought they've been on since winning a playoff game. It's been, damn near 15 years since they've won a playoff game. Can Justin Fields, can Aaron Glenn run the ball and play defense enough to make them some type of threat? Those things I find much more interesting than the Bills.
The Jets are not a playoff team. Elijah Vera Tucker just announced before we were coming on they're fearing he suffered an ACL injury, so he's going to be out for the season. That's a big time asset for the Jets. I don't see how this team is in the postseason. I think the Patriots are interesting. It's kind of a little bit of a mock of what the Commanders did last year with a rookie contract quarterback, and you kind of throw in some veterans alongside him. I think next year would be the year for Drake May and that group to have success, but I'm interested to see if they're competitive. 6-7 wins, I think, would be a good season for them. The Dolphins, I'm out on.
Oh, the Patriots are thinking way higher than 6 or 7 wins. I mean,
this year?
Yeah, Patriots fans think that Vrabel's going to get them to the playoffs this year. I think if they won 6 games, that'd be a pretty big failure for Vrabel in year 1.
6, 7, 8 wins, I think, is a solid year in year 1, as you've got to totally reboot. I mean, just a horrible year last year. I like, Gerard Mayo, but that was a bad hire. It felt like it was forced. I don't think the Patriots are a playoff team, but I think they'll be competitive. I mean, just like a team that you have to respect and can maybe sneak up on you.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with their defense. I mean, it was really good last year, and then it started getting banged up. The offense was obviously terrible, disjointed. Maybe Vrabel and McDaniel can kind of get that fixed. I just know a lot of Patriots fans are pretty high on them and Drake May this year. So I think 6 wins would be a pretty big disappointment because they're talking about, trying to be a playoff team and not necessarily compete with the Bills, but definitely finish second in the division and have a chance to be one of those, 3 wildcard teams?
Yeah, but again, when we start talking about the AFC North and AFC West, I think there are just too many better teams right now heading into the season than the Patriots. And I think that'd be a good segue to start looking at a couple of other divisions here. AFC West, AFC North, which one do you want to talk about first?
I mean, the West feels wide open, but at the same time, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, so it's not wide open because I think top to bottom, that's the best division. You could maybe say the NFC North, but I do think the AFC West, I think all 4 of those teams have a chance to make the playoffs. I buy the Raiders. I thought they were pretty solid last year. Just lacking a quarterback.
Oh,
just lacking a quarterback. I thought there was pieces in place there. They just didn't have a coach and they didn't have a quarterback, and they went and got a coach and a quarterback. You talked about, the Patriots doing the Washington thing. You could say that, the Raiders were doing the Vikings thing, which I'm not saying they're going to go out and win 13 games, 14 games like the Vikings did last year. But just get an established quarterback in there, or get a quarterback in there that's left for dead. Maybe it's a Titans thing from 2021 when they bring in Tannehill, and put around some pretty good pieces. I think there's pieces in place there with the Raiders. When you look at Crosby and you look at Bowers, I think Jacoby Myers is one of the most underrated receivers. I don't know if Dante Thornton's going to be able to pop, but I know he's getting a chance to start, and I know they're talking about him. Of course, Genty. They got a pretty good offensive line. I just think
whoa. Pretty good offensive line.
I just think their pieces are in place.
Pretty good offensive line.
Is the offensive line trash?
They're horrible. They were the worst in the NFL last year.
Take the offensive line part out of it.
Oh my gosh, they were horrible.
I feel like they invested. Did they not invest in the offensive line this year with Genty?
They are still bad on the offensive line.
Scratch that. Yeah, if that's wrong. But I do think quarterback play trumps all of that, anyways.
I don't think Genty is going to have much success this season because of how bad that offensive line is. Now, they added a couple of guys, but it is still a bad unit. And we saw it in preseason 2 weeks ago. And I know it's just preseason, but they look bad. Genty had nowhere to run. I mean, he had negative yards for the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge him on a preseason.
Okay, that may be
I don't
fair,
imagine all 5 starters are out there playing.
But let's also keep in mind how bad the Raiders were on the offensive line last year. They were last in the league or bottom 3 in the league in run yards per game and run yards per rush.
I think you're overstating their offensive line. They're 22nd in pass rate, 17th in run rate. I mean, that's middle of the pack and down. You don't get me wrong.
They were not good last year.
But when you hear horrible, I'm thinking like Titans level of bad. I think their offensive line will be a little bit better this year. Middle of the pack. Was it a strength of the team? No, but I don't think it's the big weakness you're acting like.
Well, I don't think they're very good. I think it's a big issue for them. We'll have to see if that changes this year. But as we know, Carroll likes to run, a lot of play action, and maybe you get a couple of bites on Ashton Genty and you allow Geno Smith to be able to make plays down the field. I don't know if you have the receivers to do it, but I do believe Brock Bowers will be good. I look at the AFC West, though. I'm more focused on the Broncos and Chargers. We know the Chiefs are going to make it to the postseason, but could the Chargers win the division is one thing I look at. I thought they were good last year, and year 2 with Harbaugh this year, I think it could be a big success. Ladd McConkey now has a running mate, and Trey Harris, who you add in the draft. I was a really, really big fan of him. I think this is a Chargers team that will be good. I love Omarion Hampton, by the way. Folks, if you haven't done your draft yet, Omarion Hampton, a guy to watch for, the running back out of North Carolina. He's going to have a lot of success behind a good offensive line that they've drafted really well.
A banged-up offensive line that lost their big linchpin at left tackle.
Okay, that may be true, but this is still a group that is drafted at a very high level there.
So you got the Chargers as the biggest threat to the Chiefs, because I feel like it's the Broncos as the biggest threat to the Chiefs. I buy the Broncos stock way more than I buy the Chargers stock.
Why is that?
Well,
their defense?
I want to start with Justin Herbert. I just don't believe in Justin Herbert being that guy. What do you mean? Is that what they call him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel that way about him. It's just always, it's never Justin Herbert's fault whenever they lose. We just get to celebrate his big time throws and his big plays, but without looking at, well, why'd they only score 3 points in the fourth quarter? Oh, okay. Well, why'd he throw that interception? Oh, okay. I like the Broncos more with, I believe, Sean Payton, Harbaugh, you can call that a wash. Bo Nix, Justin Herbert, you probably even give the edge to Herbert.
Okay.
But I would say that, the Broncos defense, the Broncos actually having a home field advantage. I don't look at the Chargers as really having one of those. I just like their stock a little bit more.
I can get around with the Broncos defense. They were very strong last year. They added a couple of guys, a couple of veterans like a Dre Greenlaw, and obviously he's a little bit past his prime, but they do have a lot of veterans mixed in with the Patrick Surtains and really strong defensive players, all pro guys.
It will really put Denver in a hole, though, when they start 0-1. So they'll have to dig out of that. We'll see what they're made of.
That will not happen. They'll get off to a strong start and start
0-1. There's always that big week 1 upset.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Cam Ward.
You're talking
is a game in Denver?
Yep.
Oh.
You're talking about
Cam Ward in his first start on the road up against the top defense from last year is going to win.
You're talking about your fantasy draft. I'm just going to go ahead and warn you boys, as you get in your survivor pools, your eliminator pools, you're going to say, oh, Denver at home, Denver at home. Just saying, be careful, be wary. There's always that big 7-8 point underdog that wins week 1 and ruins half of the eliminator pools. Just be wary.
And thankfully, you don't have to worry about that going down in Denver, as the Titans will not be able to do that.
Cam Ward's not going to be afraid of Denver.
Oh, okay. Pretty good defense he's going up against.
Yeah.
AFC North, very chaotic division as well. Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns. Outside of Cleveland, I think all 3 of these teams are playoff-level teams. I'm intrigued by Cincinnati this year, because last year they were so great offensively. They were dog water defensively, and they were not able to make the postseason because they got in such a big hole. The 2 things I'm watching for Cincinnati: how do you start the season? Joe Burrow now has 3 years in a row of coming out flat in September.
No, not 3 years in a row. In his 5-year career, he's 1-9.
Well,
he's 1-9.
Yeah, sure.
The first 2 weeks of the season, 1-9. Last year, maybe rock bottom, as they lost to that dreadful Patriots team, and he only scored 10 points. But no, that's been a problem his entire career. 1-9 in week 1 and 2 during his NFL career.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the point still stands. Like, not good in September at the beginning of the season over the last couple of years. Also, just, I mean, including his career.
Garbage time Joe. He really takes off in the fourth quarter when they're trailing by a couple scores. Kind of same for the season. Whenever they're like 2-7, all of a sudden he starts playing good to make everybody think, oh, the Bengals, if they had just gotten in, they could be dangerous. Garbage time Joe. That's what I call him.
So for Cincinnati, looking at the start and also their defense, are they any improved? They re-signed Trey Hendrickson, but
that's me marking them off.
You're not in on
get
them.
the Bengals out of here.
Okay.
Man.
Well, for the Ravens,
why am I supposed to think they got better? What made the Bengals better?
I don't think they got better. I'm just interested to see their defense and if they made any improvements.
Jesse Bates back in his prime? No. I know Jesse Bates is gone, obviously, but the Bengals, the only time they were good is when they had a defense carrying them. Now that they're an offensive team, they're Phillip Rivers Chargers. That's essentially what they are, Phillip Rivers Chargers.
Okay, but what they did get better at is they got a guy in Al Golden from Notre Dame at defensive coordinator. I think he's really, really good. Is he ready for the NFL jump and able to, totally change this group? We'll have to see. But I think that is the intriguing part of this defense. So that's where I think they could have gotten better.
Sure. I'm not buying them.
Okay.
I'm crossing them out. But also at the same time,
well, that means you got to be buying someone in the division outside of the Are you buying the Steelers?
I don't have to. No, I think this is the most overrated division on paper,
really?
Personally, because whenever you talked about the Browns, the Browns, we know they stink.
Horrible.
I think the Steelers, look,
Shador.
I'm not buying into, speaking of turnover-worthy plays and run-around schoolyard plays.
Turnover-worthy plays. Shador Sanders was number 1 in the draft class at a turnover-worthy plays.
Turnover plays / the running around schoolyard plays. You saw how that worked for him in the preseason.
Okay,
you saw how that's going to work against an actual NFL defense. The whole run 20 yards backwards thing ain't going to work in the NFL. But no, when you tell me Pittsburgh, like, we watched Aaron Rodgers last year. He's going to be a year older. Is Pittsburgh maybe better suited with their defense? Maybe like, Mike Tomlin's better equipped to handle that than the Jets coaches. I'll buy that. But Aaron Rodgers, if Aaron Rodgers plays the entire season, that's a success for me, because so far there's only been one quarterback make it to his 40s and play more than, I believe, 6 games in that year, and that's Tom Brady. Everyone else has failed to even play half the year as an NFL quarterback in their 40s. So to think that the Steelers are going to be a playoff threat, I just can't get there, because Rodgers, of course, dealing with his Achilles injuries, dealing with him being old, not really like to being hit, not being very mobile anymore. I think him just making it through the season is a success, much less carrying them to the playoffs.
All right, real quick, rapid fire AFC, give the 4 division winners.
I don't really have any big surprises here. It's hard to pick against the Bills. It's hard to pick against the Ravens. It's hard to pick against the Chiefs. In the South, I mean, without sounding like a homer for either you or me, like neither one of us is picking the Colts, I'm not going to pick the Titans, so I'll go Texans. It's boring, but like I don't think that's actually going to happen. I just don't have a case for anybody to unseat those teams. So I got to go with the 4 favorites.
I'll go Bills, Ravens, Jags, Chargers for my AFC winners. We'll move over.
The Jags pick is laughable.
It's not laughable.
It's completely laughable.
It's not laughable. We'll have this look, again.
It's laughable.
Jaguars will win the division.
That's such a homer take.
It's not a homer take. Liam Cohen has a track record of it.
Okay, how many divisions has he won as a head coach?
He has won one last year.
As a head coach?
Okay. I thought you said coach. He hasn't been a head coach yet.
Okay, so how does he have a track record?
Okay.
Did the Bucs go from
the Bucs offense was good last year?
Sure, they were. Were they not good 2 years ago?
Baker Mayfield put up career numbers under Liam Cohen.
Baker Mayfield was also really good 2 years ago. Baker Mayfield was also really good in Cleveland.
But Baker Mayfield has been really bad in his career as well.
Sure.
So you've seen a whole lot of different stuff from him.
I'm just saying it's not like the Bucs sucked and then
Let's
Liam Cohen
started. The Texans are some juggernaut.
Oh, I'm not acting like that. I'm not acting like that at all. I'm just saying to say Liam Cohen has a proven track record. Where the hell does he have a proven track record?
Proven track record with quarterbacks and success offensively. As a head coach, no.
You know what? I take it back. Titans are winning the division. If he gets to say the Jags are winning, I'll say the Titans are winning.
And who sounds dumber? The Titans who...
They both finished at the bottom 5 of the league last year.
Okay, but
the difference is the Titans went out and got a stud quarterback, and you're still running around with an overpaid guy that's middle of the road at best.
No. Well, we'll get to watch it unfold this year. I'm really excited for that. Obviously, it's the beginning of the year right now, and it might sound asinine.
We drafted the 7th best receiver. Now all of a sudden we're going to win the division.
Hey, the funniest thing about the draft,
we drafted a backup defensive back in the 7th best receiver. Number 3 in the draft. The funniest thing about the draft, folks, is that the Titans at the number 1 pick did not even take the best available player. That's the funniest thing of the draft. That very rarely happens in the draft.
You had the number 1 pick. You could select anyone.
The number 1
and
pick.
They did not even select the best player.
You could argue that happens all the time in the NFL draft because quarterback's so much more important, and there's plenty of times where a lineman is the best player in the draft and they don't take him. There's plenty of times that happens. That's not funny at all.
Shooting the shield fans. What the Titans should have done is traded that pick to the Giants and gotten Abdul Carter and then wait for this year's much better quarterback class.
Don't even get me started.
That's what they should have done.
You've been beating that drum all offseason.
That's what they should have done, and we'll watch it unfold this year.
How great did those quarterbacks look this last week in college football?
It's week 1.
Your boy, Cade Klubnik, 10 points. Great job, Cade. Arch Manning. Oh, tank for Arch, John. You should have tanked for Arch. How good did he look against Ohio State? Do you care to riddle me that?
1 week up against top 10 defenses in the country. Ohio State has a great defense.
Sure.
This
sure,
is
guess what? The defenses in the NFL are better.
Okay. It's week 1. Take a chill.
No. You beat the drum all offseason telling me.
Then they will be better. Right, they will be better prospects. Cam Ward. Oh, my gosh. Cam Ward, please.
Cam Ward or Garrett Nussmeier. Let's go ahead and lock it in. Better career, because that's probably going to be the #1 pick. Who you got? Cam Ward or Garrett Nussmeier?
We're not making that pick after week 1 of the college football season.
Cam Ward or Cade Klubnik? Who you taking?
I'm taking Cam Ward versus the field is the better argument.
No.
Cam Ward got a whole
season. The Titans don't get to draft every single one of them. Which quarterback?
They would have had the opportunity.
You only get to take one, though. So I'm asking, which one are you taking? Give me one.
I don't have the one yet. We got to watch
any of them. Name one of them that's going to be better than Cam Ward.
Field.
Name one of them that's going to be better than Cam Ward.
Lenore Sellers looked pretty damn good this weekend.
So you're taking Lenore Sellers over Cam Ward. That's what you're saying? And it's fine if you are, but I just want to get that on record.
But you can't put me in this spot, right? We've only watched 1 week of college football.
You had to watch them last year, too.
Okay, but Cam Ward played the whole year. And Cam Ward was not going to be – Cam Ward was a 4th or 5th round pick the year before. So you got to let the season play out.
But you were making that claim before you even watched them play 1 week. You at least got a game of data.
The class is better.
You were telling me in April. You were telling me in May. You were telling me in June.
Exactly. We've only played 1 game.
Right.
So
but you can make that declaration that
I'm making the declaration because I believe over the course of the season they will showcase what they can do and why they can be a #1 pick. We can't judge it off of 1 week.
Which quarterback? You said a tank for a much better quarterback class. Which one?
For a much better class, period. It's plural.
Which quarterback is going to be better than Cam Ward?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Because I don't disagree that this year's class will be better than last year's class because, the last year's class only had 1 quarterback. So I'm not going to say that, this year's class can't produce more than 1 quarterback, but they're not going to produce anybody better than Cam Ward.
You can't put me in a spot right now and say Cam Ward versus 1 guy in college. That's unfair. The guy I might choose might not be the #1 guy at the end of the season. So you think
it's better to have a 3rd or 4th option this upcoming year than have Cam Ward? So really, you should tell me 4 guys better than Cam Ward because you're saying hey, take your chance on the whole quarterback class. The Titans might not have had the #1 pick. They might have had the #10 pick.
If they rolled out Will Levis again, they probably would have been right back at #1.
They wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have rolled him out. They probably would have tried to pay Sam Darnold or somebody. So I'm just curious, because really you should be telling me 4 quarterbacks are going to be better than Cam Ward, but you can't even tell me 1. It's just very interesting.
Well, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenora Sellers, Drew Aller, Sam Levitt.
Doing some noticing. You're just naming names now. Are you going to make your claim that any of those guys are going to be better than Cam Ward?
Again, we have to watch the season unfold.
But you told me this take before we watched them even play 1 game. You were telling me Arch Manning was the truth, the #1 pick before you watched him start.
And you're already out on him after 1 game. How is that
What's
fair?
more asinine, to watch him play a game and be out, or for you to tell me how great he's going to be before you watched him play? Which one's more asinine?
To make your claim after 1 game.
Again, that's
Texas is going to play 17 games this season.
That's worse than making a claim before you even watched him play 1 game. Is 1 game not more than 0?
He played last year, and he completed 68% of his passes.
He played against
extended out of the pocket, had a good pocket awareness.
Against who?
Mississippi State and University of Louisiana Monroe, but he also played in all those games. Texas A&M, he came in and had a big-time touchdown. Obviously, a freshman
running touchdown. We're not going to act like he's in there.
He came in and played. It was the same type of system as Tebow and Leak.
Don't tell me it's his first game on the road at Ohio State. He should be a very experienced quarterback, and it's a real red flag the way he played after being so experienced last year and playing so many games.
It was a disappointing performance.
First pass to come out and miss by 15 yards to a wide open receiver.
It was a disappointing performance.
That's
I agree.
Your #1 guy,
but I'm not writing him off after 1 game.
Okay, well I'm gonna lay the claim Cam Ward better than Arch Manning.
Okay, all right,
lay the claim.
Let's switch over to the NFC now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We just spent 5 minutes debating.
You want to get your wild card takes off or no?
Wild cards. I had the Broncos, Chiefs, and either Cincinnati or Pittsburgh. I think it was Cincinnati. I think I leaned Cincinnati because of the new defense.
I'll take Raiders, Broncos, and the Texans. That was it.
Okay. Yeah. So just 1 team from the North. Wow.
Yeah. Just the Ravens. Just the Ravens.
All right. So we'll move to the NFC. One of the big moves this offseason, the Dallas Cowboys officially moved off of Micah Parsons, which I think is a really, really done move for them, as if they had any hopes for a Super Bowl or a playoff push, those are by far gone now without him on the roster. Looking at that NFC East last year, you were really good on your take with the Commanders. I'll give you props there. as I was not big on them, and you said to take stock in them and believe in them, and they damn near won the division. So really good
damn near won the
analysis.
NFC.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
correct.
damn near went to the Super Bowl.
Really good analysis there. But I look at it this year, I think it could be natural for them to take a little bit of a step back, as they were susceptible to playing really bad quarterbacks last year. When you look at the list of QBs they went up against, not a strong list.
Well, they're also just not going to sneak up on anybody either.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're going to play a tougher schedule.
Yeah.
Teams are going to be up for them. You're not going to be able to, catch lightning in a bottle. Now it's about being able to adjust if you're Jaden Daniels. Now, I do believe in Jaden Daniels. I do think he's wired differently than CJ Stroud. I do think Jaden Daniels is one of those guys like Tom Brady that just loves football and loves the preparation. I worry about his skill players. I worry about McLaurin kind of sitting out all offseason. I worry about the run game. And I worry about, year 2 of Dan Quinn. So I do think you'll have some regression with the Commanders. The question will be just how far down does it go? Does it go from 12 wins to 10-7 and still being a wild card team? Because I think all Washington fans would probably sign up for that. Or does it crumble all around them and it's more like a 8-9 team that misses the playoffs? That's the question I'm concerned about.
One of my favorite offseason acquisitions was Laramie Tunsil. Gives Jaden Daniels a really solid offensive line. That's a big addition. I'm not a fan of Deebo Samuel. I think he's past his prime, but it kind of felt like a Stephon Diggs to the Texans-esque move from last year.
I'm more worried about that because I think in my head they're going to have Deebo trying to be a running back and be like the short yardage back and do all those things, and I don't know if he still has the quickness and speed to be effective at that. So I feel like between him and Austin Eckler, that is a bad duo. It better be Bill. How you say his last name? McCroskey Merritt or whatever the hell his name is.
Merritt, the 7th round pick out of Rutgers.
Yeah, they were talking a lot about him. So, maybe he can add an extra dynamic there, but I'm worried about his skill position players.
Yeah, and obviously the Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, they lose a couple of guys this offseason, but they're kind of reloading with some of the youth that they've had, particularly in the secondary, Reed Blankenship and Cooper DeJean, guys like that. But I think the Eagles still the best team in this division. I'd be surprised if the Commanders in year 2 were able to topple them. But I think it's a pretty self-explanatory division. I don't think the Giants and Cowboys are worth talking about.
I'm interested in the Giants being a team that can take a step forward just because I put them similarly to the Titans, just where quarterback play was sabotaging them last year.
Russell Wilson?
I do think Russell Wilson at least can come in there and throw the deep ball and give a chance to neighbors and give a chance. Maybe even Jalen Hyatt can get out there and hit 1 or 2 fly patterns, every couple games and at least be some type of weapon. I do think that he's at least a professional quarterback. Maybe Jackson Dart gets in week 6, week 7 and can give him another punch in the arm. Again, not predicting the Giants to go to the playoffs, but I don't picture them as just a 4-13 doormat. I think their pass rush is going to be too good to be a complete pushover. I see them as a team, kind of like the Jets, strangely enough, in the same city, as being just a really hard-nosed defensive, try to beat you with the pass rush, beat you with that type of game. So I am interested in watching the Giants this year. I do wonder if those wide receivers, like I said, Neighbors, of course, being the crown jewel there, can he be good enough to elevate their offense to give them a chance? And does Russell Wilson have anything left in the tank? And if not, how quickly can Jackson Dart get acclimated and ready to go? Cowboys, we'll see. Vibes are bad, but maybe that's what they need. Maybe each team needs a little adversity and to have expectations be lower because nobody's talking about the Cowboys this year.
I do like the pairing of CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Think that will be tough for opposing defenses. We know Prescott likes to get it to Lamb a lot, but I think that defense is in a bit of a hole now without Micah Parsons. We'll switch to the NFC South, saving the better divisions for last. NFC South last year, Tampa Bay wins. Chris Godwin won't be back until around October, but Baker Mayfield still has a Mike Evans. Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, a rookie wide receiver I think could be interesting.
Maybe the most overrated player in the NFL right now, as far as production versus hype. And I know he's a rookie, but I'm just saying there's been so much talk about him that if he's not a 1,000-yard receiver in year 1, it would feel like a pretty big disappointment for him. I know he's been highly sought after in fantasy drafts. I know people have talked really highly about him as Tampa Bay dealing with a wide receiver injury, and also, just Mike Evans getting a little long in the tooth. If he can be a star, rookie wide receiver, I think that really helps Baker Mayfield. I think they're going to need him to step up.
Yeah, offensive coordinator change for the third straight season for the Buccaneers as Cohen goes to the Jags. The year before that, Canale went to the Panthers. But I think the Falcons are really interesting with Michael Penix. Obviously, last year it was the Kirk Cousins show until it wasn't. This is still a talented Falcons team, but is Michael Penix able to take them back to the level that they expected they should have been last year, where you had the best roster in the division, you were supposed to win the division, but they were unable to? Will they be able to do that this year with Michael Penix? I think the Panthers are also a sneaky storyline for this group, for this division as well. They played a lot better football at the end of last season. The defense was much improved. Bryce Young looked more comfortable. You add in a Tetairoa McMillan from Arizona at wide receiver. He was a top pick in the draft. I'm interested to see if the Panthers are able to continue that momentum from last year into this year, or was it more so a fluke of scheduling and some injuries from opposing teams late in the year?
And just the bar being the floor, right? The expectations being so low that just winning a couple games and Bryce Young looking like he didn't want to die. Like that was progress for Bryce Young. Looking like he belonged on an NFL field was progress for him. We'll see if he's able to carry that over. Was it kind of fool's gold, or can he kind of start morphing into at least a serviceable starting NFL quarterback? I don't know how I feel about them. I feel like every year they're the dark horse to at least like be competitive. I know last year people talked about them as having a good roster around. I feel like that's been the case the last couple of years. They got something going for them, and at least they ain't the Saints. Like at least they won't finish last place in that division. The Bucs and Falcons, though, to me, like one of those teams is winning this division. How long is Tristan Wirfs out? Have we gotten a full timetable on Wirfs' injury for Tampa Bay? Their star offensive lineman. I know he's been banged up and dealing with some injuries. Is he expected to miss much time at all, or do we know?
I don't have that timeline. I know Godwin's
out to like October.
Yeah.
But
middle of October.
I hadn't seen any updates on Wirfs. I know they thought he was going to miss some time. The internet's not doing a good job of telling me the exact breakdown. So I think that plays into that division race. And really, like you said, with Penix, like him and Drake London,
Penix?
they had.
You call him Penix?
What do you say, Penix?
Penix.
Yeah, I say Penix. I don't say penis. I don't say it that way. Like
it's a little close there.
I'm not trying to disrespect him. As he came out and said it's Penix.
I'd rather
a little
not
country
say
brother.
Penix.
Yeah, I'm a little country brother. Sometimes I don't say things
if you
the right
say
way.
Penix too quick,
Michael Penix. I don't know. Like Michael
like
Penix.
Michael Penix
Well, you can say penis. Michael Penix. See, to me it's different. Either way, Penix. Him and Drake London were a pretty good duo down the stretch. London is a guy that I feel like is one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league. Can he morph into being a legitimate like top 7, top 8 guy in the league? Because I do think that's going to have to happen for them to reach their potential. Bijan, he's nasty. He's good. Kyle Pitts, maybe like we talked about with the Cowboys, maybe now that everyone has given up on Kyle Pitts, maybe that's the time he actually breaks through and starts playing. It feels kind of like Jared Cook back from the Rams/Titans early days. Like he ended up having a pretty good career after being disappointing for so long. Maybe Pitts can finally mesh and do that. But I lean towards Tampa again. Not just a, hey, you got to prove it to me thing, or hey, like you back-to-back division winners. It's just I trust Baker. I trust Baker, and I trust the coaching staff more than I do in Atlanta. Atlanta, at a certain point, man, you just got to live up to expectations. You got to change your stars. Like for now, Atlanta, for the last 8 years, 9 years, has just been a team that disappoints. They have never been able to like really get back after losing that 28-3 lead. I hate to bring that up, but I feel like we keep waiting for them to do it, and they just find ways to excruciatingly lose games. Whereas Tampa and Baker's a little bit of a winner guy, right? Baker's a little bit of like, hey, give me the ball in the fourth quarter. I'll make the plays. I'll win. Atlanta's kind of the opposite there, where I just like, hey, they're going to find a way to blow this game.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, they pull out wins against Tampa, but then lose to other teams. And I don't expect that to change this year, although I hope it does. I'd like for Atlanta to be good.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is now Kyle Pitts Sr. this year. Maybe the name change will help him out. We'll go to the AFC West. Cardinals, Rams, 49ers, and Seahawks. A very interesting division because of what we saw unfold last year, where the 49ers were battered and bruised. The Rams were actually pretty solid at the end of last season. I thought Matthew Stafford had a really impressive performance on the road in that snow game.
And I thought they were the second best team in the NFC by the time the playoffs were all said and done. Like they played the Eagles the closest.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I mean, Stafford was driving for a chance to win that game with a minute left before Jalen Carter made two, season-defining plays and got pressure on him.
Yeah.
To me, the Rams and 49ers, they're the most vulnerable, though, of the favorites in the NFL just because of their injury situation. Matthew Stafford, of course, being, doing all these retreats to try to find God and find health. Like that worries me when your quarterback's got back issues. He's already old, but now the back going out. Can he make it a full season? Doesn't matter if he misses 5 or 6 games, though, because you talked about McVay. Could he squeeze out something with Garoppolo and be able to at least go 3-3 or, 2-4 if that was to be a 6-game stretch? Could they withstand Stafford being on the shelf? But the 49ers as a whole, like that roster is just banged up, man, and they're getting old too. And they're not passing the vibe check early on in the season for me. I talked about that last year with Dallas and Philadelphia. I thought I was going to be right on both as the Eagles kind of stumbled out the gate, but of course they went on, got it fixed, won the Super Bowl. Wrong on that one. Dallas, the vibes never got better there. I worry about the 49ers just when it comes to that. Just, do you trust Christian McCaffrey to be healthy? Do you trust Brandon Ayuk? Do you trust Bosa? Do you trust that defense to stay healthy? I don't. So to me, that division, you could tell me any of those 4 teams wins it, and I wouldn't be shocked. I think that's the only division I can really say that about.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals and Seahawks are interesting. They could be sneaky. I'd say more so the Cardinals could find a way, even though Kyler Murray has kind of been on that 8-win trajectory throughout his career. But I like the Cardinals better than I do the Seahawks this year. I just think Sam Darnold's going to take a step back without being with O'Connell. But I'm interested about the Rams, though, as I do feel the same about the 49ers, not passing the vibe check, so many injuries. Just I don't think they have the same type of momentum as they did, 2 or 3 years ago. With the Rams, though, big acquisition this offseason, Davante Adams. What do you expect from him in this Sean McVay offense? And is he going to be the version of Davante Adams that we know and love, or is he going to be the version that does Taco Bell commercials into the abyss of his career?
I'm going to feel really bad for him if he got away from Jimmy Garoppolo just to end back up with Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback if Stafford is hurt. But no, I think that's a big acquisition, and I think if he is settled in as a number 2, that's the best place for him at this point in his career. I'm a big Puka fan this year. I think getting Cooper Kupp out of there, which was, Stafford's safety blanket for so long, but, Kupp was literally on his last legs last year. I think Puka and Devontae is a big upgrade there. I expect them to be one of the best duos in the league if Stafford can stay healthy. And, of course, neither one of them gets injured.
Over the last 21 seasons, there has been a team that has gone from worst to best in the division. And I feel like the NFC North is our best opportunity for that, as all these other divisions we've talked about today, outside of maybe Las Vegas with the Raiders, as you were high on them, and maybe the Titans. I feel like the NFC North has the most firepower to where you could see a team like the Bears going from worst to best. Bears, Lions, Packers, Vikings. What do you make of the NFC North? Is it as loaded as everyone talks about, or are you kind of feeling the same about the AFC North, kind of being a little bit overrated?
No, I think this one's loaded. I think this one's underrated somehow because there's been a lot of hype about the Bears, but not as much as last year. People thought Caleb Williams was going to be Jaden Daniels in the sense of taking his team from bad to good and making them a playoff team. That didn't happen. Now, can Ben Johnson unlock that with Caleb Williams? That's one of the big questions of the season. But to me, the Vikings have become an afterthought. And that's crazy to me that that's the case because in reality, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty much the only thing they lost was Sam Darnold, right? Like they went from Sam Darnold to a top 5 pick in J.J. McCarthy, who should be a year older, a year stronger, and a year in the system. Like, I don't know how big of a decline that actually is. Otherwise, that Vikings roster last year was loaded. And you talk about O'Connell. He's one of those guys that I look at as a difference maker when it comes to quarterbacks. I think he's every bit deserving of being mentioned among the same breath as maybe not Andy Reid, who's won all those Super Bowls, or McVay, but like Shanahan. Like, you at least put him up there with Shanahan, who's elevated and been good with quarterbacks, but hasn't won anything big. I think O'Connell is right there in the mix in terms of difference maker. So I expect him and McCarthy to be good. And then, of course, the Lions. Will there be some drop off after switching coordinators? Maybe. Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
The starting center hanging it up and Ragnow, like, will that cause them any friction? Sure, maybe. But the defense should get better with the Lions. I don't think the offense is going to fall off a cliff. I think they're going to be great. The Packers getting Micah Parsons, I think they're going to be really good. I think this division absolutely loaded. And I think I'm going to take I like the Vikings value here in this. I do think the roster and O'Connell and McCarthy, I think that's enough to get them over the hump. I think they can maintain around that 13-12 wins plateau they had last year, or mark they had last year, take a little bit of a step back, but still be really good and really talented, and have the Lions come back to earth a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to share the same side on this one. I think the Vikings will win this division because they do have a really good roster around J.J. McCarthy, and they can afford to spend the money around him because of the rookie contract. And Kevin O'Connell is a type of guy that elevates quarterback play and elevates the offense with the guys he has on his team. And he's done that time and time again. Josh Dobbs turned into a serviceable quarterback a couple of years ago because of the system Kevin O'Connell was able to put him in. Sam Darnold last year revived his career, now got paid this offseason because of his time with Minnesota. I think Minnesota is the division winner here. The Lions take a step back. Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, the two best coordinators in football last season, both gone. I'm not a Dan Campbell guy like a lot of people are. I think Dan Campbell is a good motivator, and he's a good program starter. He's not a program finisher and a Super Bowl level quarterback, or excuse me, not quarterback, coach, I should say. I think the Lions take a step back. The Bears, I think, will be better, but I haven't really loved what I've seen from Caleb Williams even in preseason, so the verdict's still out on there for me. I think if there were another winner in this division, it could be the Packers, because I do think with Micah Parsons, their defense is going to take another step above. I think the biggest thing for them overall is finding a go-to wide receiver for Jordan Love. Maybe that's Matthew Golden, the rookie out of Texas, but that has been the issue for them ever since Love has taken the reins. Christian Watson's been okay. Romeo Doubs has been okay, but they've never had a go-to guy. Can they establish that this year? But I would lean Vikings as well.
Division winners, real quick.
I go Eagles, Vikings, Falcons, Rams.
Yeah, I think ultimately I agree there. I know I said Tampa over Atlanta, but I think I'm okay with the Falcons getting that division, because otherwise, if I take the Bucs, I would have 7 of the 8 division winners from last year just kind of running it back, and that very, very, very rarely happens in the NFL. You always get some new blood. Wild card teams?
Wild card teams would be the Commanders and the Packers and the Lions.
Okay.
I'll give the Lions the final spot.
Yeah.
I don't think the 49ers are in the playoffs this year. I don't think this is a good team anymore. I think it's like a season 5 of a really good show. That, season 1 was good, season 2 was good, season 3, the writing's starting to get a little bit bad. 4 is like the main character leaves. And now it's like season 5, and you bring back a guy from season 2, and it's just like, this thing's winding down. Would you? I mean, I think Shanahan's still a good coach. I just think this roster's outdated now.
Yeah, it's probably more like The Office. Get to season 7, have those guys leave a little bit longer than the 5-season arc. But I understand where you're going with. I don't necessarily disagree. I think they've missed their window for sure. But they're going to be a case study this year about just schedule strength, because the schedule really easy on paper we'll see if they're able to take advantage of it. Real quick, before we wrap up, we're getting close to an hour. Week 1 matchup you're most intrigued by?
I mean, probably a cop-out answer here, but Buffalo and Baltimore, Sunday Night Football, huge game, a rematch of last year's AFC AFC divisional round, and Mark Andrews drops the 2-point conversion, what would have tied the game. It was very costly for some of us, John, watching that one. But I'm just interested to see if the Ravens are able to, get a signature win early in the year, and also what this new look Buffalo team looks like. I think the Ravens should have the most success attacking Buffalo's defensive backs. I don't think they're very strong. I expect Lamar Jackson to try to get involved in the deep pass game.
That's the best game, but I can't call it the most intriguing just because, like I said, I think
that too much of a cop-out?
Well, it's the best game, but I don't know just what we're going to learn about either team. We're already going to know they're good.
Okay.
They're both, like I said, going to be in the position of proving the playoffs. I don't think we're getting any new data there. There's the Texans Rams, I think, to me is interesting because of Stafford's back and that Texans offensive line, because the Rams got a pretty good pass rush, and I want to see how they hold up there. So I think that might be my answer, just because A, the AFC South, I'd like to see what the Texans look like, but B, the Rams getting a lot of love, and I want to see how Stafford moves around and how Devontae Adams clicks there.
I think you can make the argument for Raiders-Patriots as well.
Sure, that's another good one.
Two teams that both have a lot of unknowns heading into the season. So,
all right, well, we'll recap it next week. I'm excited for the NFL to be back. I got a survivor pool, an $11 survivor pool where you just got to pick a winner each week and survive. Can't use them twice. If you want in, just hit me a message on Twitter, and I'll get you a link. But, William, I'll talk to you next week. We'll recap week 2. I'm glad football's back.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, see you. Bye.